These are the kind of books that you just hate to love. Hi, welcome, come on in. My name is Aoife and today I am giving you some suggestions for the enemies to lovers trope. This is one of my favourite romance tropes because it has that little bit of animosity and that little bit of tension that you don't really get with friends to lovers. Friends to lovers is very happy and it's very kind of low stakes the whole way throughout the book. But for an enemies to lovers romance, they really start out at loggerheads with one another. Often there's a big screaming match involved. And I just love the drama of that. Most, if not all, of these books are going to be in the contemporary romance section of the bookstore or the library because that is just what I gravitate to the most. Some of them are going to be tried and tested favourites of mine, and some of those are still on my TBR and are ones that I am dying to get to. First up is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I think this is Sally Thorne's best work so far, and if you really enjoy the book of this, it has also been made into a movie a couple of years back. This is following Josh and Lucy, who are working as assistants at a publishing house. Both of them used to work for previous publishers, but in the merger, they were brought together and are now the assistants to two CEOs. There is going to be a much higher up job made available in the next couple of months, and Josh and Lucy's names have both been put forward. It's just that they need to decide who it is that's going to get the job. What follows is a big kind of sabotage against one another in a one-upmanship of I'm better at my job than you are really terrible at doing this, whereas I excel at it. But there are also some really big sparks between Josh and Lucy. It turns out that they have phenomenal chemistry with one another, and when they're not at loggerheads with one another, things really start to heat up. Next up is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This is perfect if you want something that has a beach or an island setting. This is about Olive and Ethan, who have been drafted in to go on their own separate siblings' honeymoon. Olive's twin sister Amy has married Dane, who is Ethan's brother. Olive and Ethan are the only two people who were at the wedding reception who haven't gotten food poisoning, as they didn't take part in the seafood buffet. Amy won pretty much everything for her wedding, including the honeymoon to Hawaii, which is uncancelable and cannot be changed. So Olive and Ethan step in to pose as the happy couple so that this honeymoon doesn't go to waste. It's just that they have hated each other from the moment they first set eyes on each other. Olive is pretty sure that when she and Ethan first met, she overheard him talking to his brother about her in a really harsh and unfriendly and uncomplimentary way, and this has stuck in her head ever since she met him. Of course, when they are on the island of Hawaii and when they are in the resort together, things happen that start to get them a little bit closer together. And I'm not just talking about the fact that they have to share a bedroom. Another kind of beachy setting is Beach Read by Emily Henry. Don't let this title confuse you because this is actually set in Michigan. This is following January and Gus. They first met each other in a creative writing course in college a couple of years back, and they didn't particularly get on with one another. They both write at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. January is well known for her happy-go-lucky literary fiction books, whereas Gus is a thriller writer who takes no better comfort than killing off some of his favourite characters. January and Gus are accidentally going to be staying in neighbouring beach huts, and they are both, at the same time, going through a bit of writer's block. So they decide that what's going to help them overcome this is to swap genres. January is now going to try her hand at writing a thriller book, and Gus's next assignment is going to be the next big literary hit. January and Gus now have to put their differences aside and try and help each other to get to grips with the new genre that they have, and also get a little bit more acquainted with one another after college years have ended. Another enemies to lovers book by Emily Henry is Book Lovers. This is about Nora, who takes a trip away with her sister. They need to reconnect with one another because they haven't seen each other in a really long time, but they're going to go and spend a month in Sunshine Falls. This is the setting of one of their absolute favourite TV series, and it's going to give them a little bit of a chance to catch up. It's just that every single place that Nora goes, she is confronted with Charlie. He is one of the other editors where she works, and they have got beef. There are a couple of books that Charlie has gotten in front of Nora for it. There are a couple of times that Charlie has been put up for jobs that Nora really wanted to do, and she has never forgiven him for this. However, it turns out that Charlie and Nora might have a little bit more in common than they were expecting to, and Charlie has a much deeper connection with Sunshine Falls than Nora was ever expecting. If you want your enemies to lovers books to come with a very healthy dose of spice, then you should definitely go and check out Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is following Stacey and Nate. Stacey is a figure skater and Nate is the captain of the college hockey team. They are both on a scholarship at college, and for the most part they have been avoiding one another. Their schedules haven't matched up, and if they do, they're both on separate ice rinks, so there's no real problem with them having to bump into one another. Except that one night, one of the ice rinks has been damaged in a kind of a prank that's gone wrong. And now every single ice-based team has to share just the one rink between all of them. This is going to cause a huge issue with schedules clashing and with Stacey trying to get her turns right, whereas Nate is trying to get the best goal done. There is so much tension and there is so much build up in this book, but it is also incredibly spicy. This book is probably one of the steamiest that I've ever read, so if that's something that you're looking for, this is definitely the book to get and check out. Another enemies to lovers suggestion, and one to read if you are interested in women and STEM, is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. This is following Elsie, who is kind of living a double life. By day, she is a theoretical physicist, but by night, she moonlights as a fake dating girlfriend. So she will come with you to any family events or to corporate events where you need to have somebody on your arm. One of Elsie's biggest clients, his older brother, is Jack. Jack is another theoretical physicist. Elsie and him have not particularly gotten on all of the time, but he might be about to stand between Elsie and her dream job as he is on the hiring committee at MIT. I really enjoyed the women in STEM section of this book, and I feel like that's something that Ali Hazelwood writes so well. So if that's a representation that you are interested in, this is definitely one to get. The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa starts with a really big ironic moment. A wedding planner who has been left at the altar. Yes, the irony isn't lost on Lena Santos, but about 3 years later, she has finally gotten herself back on her feet and her wedding planning business is stronger than it ever was. Lena has been asked by a local hotel to come on board as their wedding planner and she's about to put a big pitch for them together, except that when she walks into the room, she finds out that there's someone else up for the job. The other person vying for it is Max. Max is Andrew, Lena's ex-fiance's brother. And it turns out that on the night before the wedding, Max and Andrew may have had a conversation that somehow put the idea in Andrew's head that this wedding wasn't what he wanted in life. Lena and Max now have to put their whole ideas together because they are going to be pitching against 2 other businesses. And there is a whole lot of tension and there is a whole lot of spice, and I absolutely loved this one. Another recommendation is The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is following Shay, who has been a producer on a radio show in Seattle for about 10 years now, and everything that she is doing has just been usurped by Dominic. He has just graduated from a master's course in public radio and he's pretty sure that he knows everything about it. The station is kind of stumbling at the moment and they need a whole fresh idea. And one of their bosses introduces the idea of the X Talk. This is going to be an anti-relationships show where 2 exes will come on and give their own thoughts about what relationships are like and give some relationship advice. Shay and Dominic are put into task to be this ex-couple because they already pretty much despise each other. It's just that as they're starting to spend more time together and as they're starting to present the show, they don't hate each other as much as they did at the beginning. Another enemies to lovers workplace romance is Shipped by Angie Hockman. This is following Henley, who is a marketing manager for a cruise company. She and Graham, who is the company social media manager, may have never met in real life, but their email back and forth to one another is a thing of legends in the office. Graham and Henley are both up for the same position and the same promotion, except that there is one catch. It's going to be about how to promote the Galapagos Island as a booking destination to the company's customers. And what the 2 of them are going to have to do is take a cruise around the Galapagos Islands for an entire week together, put their pitches together, come back and deliver everything. While Henley is spending a little bit more time with Graham, she's starting to realize that maybe he's not the bad person that she thought he was all along. For another destination to escape to, I can offer you Belize in The Layover by Lacey Walden. This is about Ava, who has been a flight attendant for about 10 years now, but it is coming up to her final flight. She has been chartered onto a plane to Belize, and the issue is that also on the plane as a flight attendant is Jack. They have not had the best working relationship because Ava feels like Jack has been trying to force himself into her relationship and to basically one-up her every single place they go. While they are in Belize, a huge Caribbean storm has been brewing across the country and all flights and all ships have been grounded for the next couple of days. This gives Ava and Jack a chance to get to know each other a little bit better and to maybe put their differences aside. Up next is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogle. This is following Naomi and Nathan, who had been previously in such a loving and caring relationship, but now things have really started to sour. It's about 3 months out to their wedding, and neither of them is particularly looking forward to saying I do. They've kind of come up with a giant forfeit. Whoever it is that is going to call off the wedding has to be the one to pay the entire wedding bill. And when I tell you that this wedding was into the hundreds of thousands, I'm being pretty generous. What follows is war. There are pranks, there is sabotage, there is emotional warfare, and there is more time getting to know each other again, going out on dates like they did for the first time, and rediscovering their love for one another. Up next is Truly Madly Deeply by Alexandria Belfleur. This is about Truly, who is a romance author who has been on deadline for a really long time and has just been invited onto a podcast to kind of give some relationship advice to its struggling listeners. What she doesn't know is that Colin, who is a divorce lawyer, is also going to be a guest on this podcast, and he has some pretty opposing views to everything that she's been saying. Some of his advice really starts to hit a nerve with Truly, and she basically walks out of the studio. She wants nothing to do with Colin and the podcast again, but when he really comes back on his knees begging her to come back so that he can get the numbership back up, Truly concedes. While the two of them are presenting this podcast together and getting to know each other a little bit more, Truly finds out that this might not be the guy that she had painted him out to be, and there might be a little bit more to him than she might have expected. If you love a retelling, then I think you should go and check out Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. This is a reimagining of The Taming of the Shrew, the Shakespearean play. This book follows Karima, who is a little bit blindsided when her father tells her that he is going to be selling on the house. This is the last bit of a memory that she has of her mother, who'd passed away about 10 years ago, so she strikes up a deal with him. If she can find a man to marry within 4 months, her father is not going to sell on the house. This becomes a little bit more complicated as Karima is caught up in an argument with Prem. He's the resident doctor on an afternoon TV show, and their spat has become completely viral. Now the only man that is in her life is the one man that she never wanted to have there. If you'd like to start off a new series, then why not give The Deal by Elle Kennedy a go? This is following Hannah, who is 100% confidence personified in every area of her life except in the bedroom. She is going to put her first foot forward and try out something that she has never done before. She's going to coach the local kids hockey team, and this is where she bumps into Garrett. They have an explosive one-night stand together, but they have been brought back and back together time and time again, and it looks like this is going to thaw some of the ice between the two of them. Next up is probably one of the most well-known enemies to lovers books of all time, Big Daddy Enemies to Lovers, the one that started it all off, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It can be a little weird to classify a classic book as an enemies to lovers book, but when you think about all of the tension that there is between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, and when you think how much he genuinely cannot stand to be in her presence, there's nowhere else that this book would fit into. Next up is Mile High by Liz Tomford, and if you're looking for a book that you can truly escape into and spend a whole lot of time with, this chonker is definitely the one to go for. This book follows Xander, a professional hockey player living in Chicago, and he is well known in the community for being one of the most voracious goal attackers, but also for leaving every hockey arena with a different woman after every game. Now he has caught the eye of Stevie, and Stevie has definitely caught his eye too. She is a flight attendant on a flight that he has just taken recently, and it might not just be the call button that he is pushing with her. They have an instant dislike to one another because Stevie knows exactly what kind of person Xander is, but it turns out he might be really good at breaking her down. My final recommendation is, this is the second in the When in Rome series, but I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to have read When in Rome to get there. This is following Annie Walker, who has just been described by a date in the local town as incredibly boring. She decides that she needs to liven herself up a little bit, and the best way to do that is to have a dating coaching experience with Will. Will is a bodyguard. He is here on assignment taking care of Amelia Rose, who has fallen in love with Annie's brother. The wedding is coming up, and Will might be pretty busy with Amelia and Noah's wedding, but there is also a little bit of time to guide Annie into what it is that she should be doing, even though they don't particularly get on well the first time they meet each other. Those are some enemies to lovers books that I think you should definitely go and put on your TBR. What is your favorite enemies to lovers book? Or do you have a favorite trope that is even more important to you than enemies to lovers? If you would love to leave me a comment but you can't think of anything you'd like to say, then just leave me an angry face emoji. Don't forget to like and subscribe because I have new videos up every week. Now, get on out of here.